think it's a little. All right. Well, welcome everyone to our Age Well series event today. My name is Jill Rankin. I'm the Executive Director of the Wisconsin Institute for Healthy Aging. If you aren't familiar with us, we're a small nonprofit organization here in serving the entire state of Wisconsin, and aiming to provide programs and services along with all of our local partners, several organizations throughout the state, that aim to provide health education programs, services, and excellent information, evidence-based, to be able to help us all on our journey of healthy aging. So we're really excited today to be talking about habits of healthy aging. And people ask us that very often. They say, if I'm healthy, if I'm going to be healthy as I age, what are the best things that I can do for my health? So hopefully today you'll get some great tips when it comes to some great things that you can do on your healthy aging journey. So I will hand it over to our presenters and we'll get started. So thank you very much.
Hello, everyone. I hope you can hear me okay. My name is Monica. I am the study coordinator for the Super Aging Research Initiative here at UW-Madison. Today, we're going to discuss habits of healthy aging and our super aging study. This presentation is intended for community education. While the information is based on evidence from our research study, it is presented in a non-technical, accessible way, and is not intended for the research audience or research community necessarily. So I'm going to start by introducing some of our research team. So starting to the left, Dr. Ozioma Okonkwo is our lead researcher, or you may hear us say principal investigator. And then that's me, Monica Bruce. I am the super aging coordinator. And then I have some of my teammates here.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Alyssa, and I'm the assistant program manager in the Okonkwo lab. So I oversee and help with the super aging study. And thank you all for coming out and learning about healthy aging today.
And I'm Talia Brock. I'm a graduate student in the Masters of Public Health program. And I also work as a coordinator in the lab, and I'm helping with some of the super aging outreach.
So we have our table of contents with a little bit of our agenda. We're going to talk about cognition first, what it is and how it works. Then we're going to discuss who superagers are and a few healthy habits that they share. Then we'll delve a little deeper into those habits and actually talk about how to incorporate them in our day-to-day.
All right, so let's start off by understanding what cognition actually is. Broadly, cognition means thinking. It involves the actions and processes of acquiring knowledge, learning, remembering, and understanding through thought, experience, and the senses. There are many different types of cognitive processes. We'll touch base on a few here today. The first one is memory, which allows us to store and retrieve information. There are many different types of memory. We could have an entire presentation on just the different types, but some examples of how we retrieve memories in our daily life include remembering how to make a special recipe, riding a bike, remembering a friend's phone number, or remembering how someone made you feel. Another type of cognition is executive functioning, and that's a set of mental skills that allows us to plan ahead, meet our goals, utilize self-control, organize our thoughts, and follow multiple step directions. So we can think of executive functioning as our brain's management system. Some examples of when we use our executive functioning can be driving. We want to make sure we're really paying attention and staying safe on the road, balancing a checkbook and paying our bills, and also organizing medications. And then the last one we'll touch base on today is language, which involves our ability to understand and express our thoughts through words. We have to be able to remember words in conversations with others, but sometimes we run into the tip of the tongue phenomenon. So that's knowing what you want to say, but you can't get the word out. It feels like it's on the tip of your tongue, but it's just not coming out. You can't think of it. And that's when you have to tap into your memory to retrieve the word. This is something that I struggle myself with a lot. But our brains are constantly using these three types of cognition and many more to keep our brains functioning. Let's take a moment to put our brains to work and kind of see in real time how our brain selects between different aspects of cognition using a Stroop test or a word color test, which involves these colorful words that you see on the screen. And you can join me in trying to do this on your own at home as well. But let's start off by trying to read the words first. So I'm seeing orange, blue, green, pink, orange. Now, let's now try to say the color of the font instead. So pink, green, blue, gray, white. And you can share in the chat how you're doing with this. And we'd like to know if the second test was harder and longer to do. And that may be because this is tapping into multiple different aspects of our cognition. Your brain needs to process multiple types of information at the same time, such as the word itself and the color that the word is written in. So to just read the color that the word is written in, your brain needs to be able to inhibit the cognitive interference that occurs when it tries to read the word itself. So this is really testing our attention and processing speeds. The word color test gets at inhibiting an automatic process. So for example, have you ever been driving and somebody cuts you off? I'm sure we have all experienced that. But I'm sure we all share that immediate reaction, whether that's yelling, honking, or even worse. But we must inhibit those things to be a safe driver, keep ourselves safe and others on the road. So we have to drive and inhibit those automatic reactions that we want to have. And then as we age, it is actually normal for us to all experience some cognitive decline. So in the graph here, we can see things like our processing speed, spatial visualization, memory, and reasoning all have a steady decline throughout the years. However, on a more positive note, there are some aspects of cognition that actually increase with age, such as vocabulary, which you can see here by the pink line. But again, we do want to stress that the decline that we see in the other types of cognition are normal, and we are all in this together. And then if we just zoom into the memory portion of cognition, we see again that memory declines over the lifetime, and we can see that that's normal. We have this pretty large purple region here that shows a steady decline as we age. So this axis here is age, and then this is the number of items that we recall. So this would be done in memory testing when we ask people to remember a list of words, and we like to see how many they can remember. So yeah, we can see here in this purple line that we have this steady decline in the number of things people can recall as they age. However, when we look more closely at how individuals are performing on these memory tests throughout age, we see that there are some individuals who aren't following a normal trajectory in this purple region. So we can see a few down here and also some above the purple region. And we start to see that individuals around the age of 80 are performing well above what is expected for their age range. So we have a few people at the top here around age 80 that are recalling more items than their peers. And if we trace it back, we can see that these people are performing at the same level as somebody who is 50 to 60 years younger than them, or 2 to 3 decades younger to them. So we refer to these people in this red bubble here as superagers. And the category of exceptional aging inspired the Super Aging Research Initiative to pursue a research project to investigate individuals that belong to this category. And we want to see if there is anything special about their brains or their lifestyle. So our site here at UW-Madison is helping to contribute to this research question through our multi-site Super Aging Research Initiative, which leads us into the next section that Monica will discuss.
Yeah, so what is a superager? So superagers are defined by our study as someone who is 80 or older without a diagnosis of mild cognitive impairment or dementia. And mild cognitive impairment is an early stage of memory loss or cognitive ability, such as language or visual, spatial, or perception in individuals who may maintain the ability to independently perform most activities of daily living. So you're still someone with MCI, they're still getting along pretty good, but you may start to notice some early stages of memory loss. And then we're also defining superagers as someone who has the same memory as someone 20 to 30 years younger than their stated age. So we have a video of some actual participants in the Super Aging Research Initiative. And these are, we just want to go forward and show you their remarkable stories.
I'm 92 years old and I hope to keep going, maybe slower and not as far, but I want to keep going, learning and taking more adventures in.
I am 82 years young. I'm just having a ball. I'm grateful. And I want to be here a long time, like 100 and something.
Each day is another opportunity for me to live to the fullest in how I can help others, how I can enjoy myself, how I can be as creative and adventurous as I like being.
I think what makes me a superager is being active and positive.
As a result of the testing, I was asked to participate in the Super Aging Program, which I was honored to do. So that's how I got involved, and that's what made me say, I'm a superager.
I didn't think I was really anything special until they said, you know, you're super now.
I don't really feel super. I feel normal, and I'm happy to be 86 and be able to do all the fun stuff I like to do.
And now, 108, about 2 weeks from 109, and I can say this has been a wonderful life. It's not all happy, it's not all sad, it's not all glad, but it's living.
60 was an awareness and acceptance of who I am. 70, woohoo, I'm still here. 80 was younger friends because I'd lost so many of my friends. And then finally I decided at 90 it was be mellow, cool it. You can't change it.
I have never been more relaxed and certain that I can control the 24 hours of the day as I want to spend it.
I joined this study purely out of curiosity, and I figured, oh, what the heck, maybe I can qualify and see where it takes me.
And I didn't know anything about superagers until I got a call and they asked me, and I said, yeah, why not, you know? And I'm always curious. about how my brain is working, you know, and if it's working and how long it's gonna work and, you know, that sort of thing. So that's how I got into it. And I've met my peers. They're fun people. And I always believe in diversity, you know, and it's always good because it broadens your understanding of others, other communities, other peoples, other lifestyles.
I was just asked to see if I wanted to be a super ager, and I said yes. Anytime you use the word super, I'm in for it. The super ager study experience, wonderful, because I have the bragging rights that I'm a super ager.
A friend of mine who was in the study too told me about it. And I was a little skeptical because, you know, you don't want to fail at something, but I thought it was worth a try. Unfortunately, I was accepted for it and have really enjoyed the experiences and the opportunities it's given me.
If I wasn't here right now, I would be probably looking at the spring cleaning of my yard. I would be taking my bike down and getting it greased up, ready for a ride. And then I would be looking for a nice place to go to lunch that would have outdoor seating.
I would be in my car, driving up the outer drive, listening to my music, and taking photographs.
I'd be in the pool swimming, and after 45 minutes of high-intensity water aerobics, lifting weights, I would then walk a couple of miles, and then I would take a yoga class.
Age is just a number. And to be a super ager, hey, it's cool. Doo-doo.
All right, so that's a fun video. I always enjoy watching them. So let's talk about some of the initial findings of the Super Aging Research Initiative. So the program has found that super agers have larger brain volumes compared to individuals with average cognition for their age. And they're doing that through, there's an optional brain donation, and there's also an MRI as part of the study. Super agers in general reported having more positive social relationships compared to those with average cognition for their age. Super agers have much lower rates of brain atrophy, which means that their brains shrink half as slow compared to individuals with average age cognition for their age. With this being said, let's talk about some changes that we can make in our current lives to help us perform similar to super agers.
Okay, so I'm going to talk with you about what those different lifestyle habits look like in our day-to-day lives. So here are 3 themes that are common among super agers. The first is that they live an active lifestyle. Physical activity is very important. It increases the oxygen that our body takes in and helps our bodies perform better. It can reduce our risk of falls. And we recommend that exercising a minimum of 2 times a week can decrease your chances of disease later in life. The next category is challenge themselves. So our brain is a muscle too, so we need to exercise it just like we would the rest of our body. So super agers continue to challenge themselves. Mental activity is just as important as physical activities. Doing things like the Stroop task, like the color and word test we did at the beginning of this presentation, is a great way to challenge your brain. You can train your brain with brain games or sign up for classes that take you outside of your comfort zone. Overall, the goal is to stimulate and engage your brain in new ways. We'll talk about some brain games later on that specifically can do this. And then finally is super agers tend to have strong social relationships. Areas that are important for social processing and awareness appear to be larger in super agers, and we'll talk about what being social means when you're a super ager. Now that we've established these common themes among superagers, we're going to delve into each topic specifically and talk about examples and how we can implement these strategies into our daily lives. Okay, so physical and mental activity. We know that implementing exercise has both brain and cardiovascular benefits. So we're going to briefly discuss some exercises you can do from your home. But first, we're going to play a little memory game with Monica.
Okay, so I like to tell everyone that about my background as a speech language pathologist. I have worked with people from birth all the way through until they're older adults. So over the last 20 years, I've worked with a lot of older adults, and one of the big concerns, of course, is memory. So we're going to talk about some of the strategies we use to help our memory. So the first one is journaling. When it comes to journaling, that is the gold standard, tried and true. I write my grocery list. I keep a calendar on my phone. I have notes on my phone. I also have a journal with me. So writing things down, guaranteed you will not forget it as long as you don't lose the list. The other thing is, the next one is repetition. So when it comes to repetition, that involves literally repeating the target several times. So I know some salespeople use this to remember names. They will say your name at least 3 times, and we'll use my name, Monica, as the target. So they may say something like, "What's your name?" And I'll say Monica, and they'll say, "Nice to meet you, Monica." "Monica, what are you here for?" "Monica, how can I help you?" "Monica, how's the weather?" "Monica, how many kids do you have?" You know, just a variety of ways to say the name. So when it comes to a target for you, try saying it 3 times. You can say it out loud, then repeat it under your breath, and then repeat it several times in your head. Okay? The next strategy is association. Association that can be fun. So you take the target that you want to remember, or this new thing you want to remember, such as someone's name, and you associate it with something that is in your long-term memory, or something that you already know. Maybe it rhymes. Maybe it's a physical characteristic. Maybe this person reminds you of some historical person. So when I ask people to remember my name, I've heard people say, "Oh, when I think of Monica, I think of harmonica, the musical instrument." Or they mention Monica Seles, the tennis player, or Monica from Touched by an Angel, the TV show, if you ever watched that with Michael Landon. And the last way to help you remember something, especially a target like a name, or sometimes it's an action, is called spaced retrieval. So in spaced retrieval, it's literally what it says. So you have your target item that you want to remember, and then you try to recall that at different intervals. So maybe you'll try it after 30 seconds. Then you'll try to remember it after a minute. Then you keep increasing. If you can't remember it, you have to start over again. So if you get to 2 minutes and you're like, "Oh, I don't remember what I wanted to," so you go back and you start it up again, remembering that same thing after 30 seconds, then remember it after a minute. Then you just keep stretching it out. And that's what spaced retrieval is.
Okay, now we're going to move on to physical activity, one of those key aspects of superagers. So there's some examples of exercises you can be doing at home that are on the screen. So first, we've got like an overhead reach, just lifting our arms up to the sky a couple times every day. The second one is just a sit and stand. So if you got a chair, a couch, something in your home that you can just stand, sit a couple times, maybe while you're watching TV or something like that. The third image, we've got our leg lifts. So just standing, having something you can hold on to for balance, and slowly lifting each leg up and down a few times. Doing it slowly makes it more challenging for you. And then the last picture we have there is just kicking your leg up and down, making sure you're doing it on both legs if you're able, in a sturdy chair. So these are just a few examples of things you could be doing that are easy to incorporate into your daily life. We encourage that you do any activity you're doing, but especially these ones, slowly and intentionally to get the most out of the exercise. If you find it to be too easy to do these as they're shown here, you can add weights. And these can be things from your home, like a soup can or a water bottle or something like that that you have easily accessible, and hold them while you do the exercise to make it a little more challenging. Activities like these help with maintaining function of activities of daily living, like getting out of bed or out of chairs, improving your ability to climb stairs, range of motion, strengthening your muscles, or improving your balance. And then we've got a list of some other activities here that you could be doing. If you guys could share some exercises you currently do in your daily life, or maybe would like to start doing, in the chat, and we'll keep an eye on that for a second here. Okay, seeing Pilates. Swimming, that's great. Working on your cardio. Walking, fantastic. Also cardio. Water aerobics, that's a great one. Elliptical, stepping exercises, strength training, fantastic. These are all great things that you can be implementing into your daily life. Like we said, we want these to be fun, easy to implement. It shouldn't be stressful or burdensome to you.
As mentioned earlier, it's important to exercise your brain as well as your body. And you can do this with a variety of brain games or brain activities that are meant to challenge your brain and maybe even take you out of your comfort zone. So when we talk about taking you out of your comfort zone, I just want to explain briefly. If you're someone who absolutely loves the word search puzzles, you know, where there are a bunch of letters and you circle, and that becomes easy, it's no longer a challenge. So we want to get out of that comfort zone and try some new things. Those are great things, but we always have to challenge our brain, especially when it becomes comfortable with a certain level. So playing these types of games with grandkids or friends can help you train your brain, but it also addresses the socialization part of habits of healthy aging. So let's try a couple of games together. So on this one, I want you to look at the picture and put in the chat the number of the picture that is different. Can you find the one that is different? Yeah. Yeah, we see quite a few people are responding. So that wasn't as challenging for some people because they got it right away, that number 5 is different. Okay, let's try the next one. Quick, name 10 foods that begin with the letter P. Put it in the chat. We'll just usually I use like a minute to see if we can get out 10 foods that begin with the letter P. You can change this. So you can do 10 sports that do not use balls. You can change the letter, 10 foods that begin with the letter S. I see in the chat pickles and pancakes so far. A task like this helps with that part where we talk about executive functioning, divergent thinking, thought processing, and organization. I see Pringles, pulled pork, peaches, pears, Yeah, popcorn. Look at you all. That's awesome. Pineapples. Yeah. So tasks like this, these are fun games to play with friends and family members, especially the younger ones. They enjoy these. So just the most important thing I want you to take away from the brain games and brain activities is that you are challenging yourself. So if crossword puzzles are getting too easy, try Sudoku. If you don't like that, try and switch it up again. Just make sure it's something that you enjoy doing. This should not be a burden to you. And now in the chat, can you share more activities that you're currently doing to mentally, cognitively challenge yourself? Yeah, let's see what everyone else is doing too. Wordle, yes. Duolingo on Spanish, same. Find the difference. Yes, we did something like that today. Card games, absolutely. I still have not figured out euchre or bridge. AARP games. Crochet and learning new piano pieces. Those are all excellent ideas. Thank you for sharing those. So before we go on to talk about social activities, nope, you're fine. I gave you a target when we started, and that target was my name. Can anyone put in the chat what my name is? Oh, look at there, Michelle, you are quick. Okay, yes, you got it. So that was, again, that example of spaced retrieval and being able to come. I gave you a lot of distraction and then you were able to still come up with my name. That's pretty good. Okay.
All right, now we're gonna move on to that last piece that was on our themes of superagers, which is social activities. So we'll talk about what that means, what that looks like in your daily life. So here are some ideas of ways to get social. So the main piece here is maintaining a connection with others and pursuing things that benefit your mental health in a positive way. So again, it shouldn't be a burden. It should be fun. It should be enjoyable for you. So the first is volunteering. Maybe you're going out and picking up trash with your friends or your peer group, or volunteering at your church or other local organization. Starting a hobby. So maybe your hobby is brain games with friends. So we can incorporate a lot of these activities and goals we've talked about throughout this presentation and kind of kill two birds with one stone. So other hobbies might be crocheting or playing piano or things that were put in the chat earlier. The third is travel. So this doesn't have to be across the country or to a new state. It can even just be to another city or trying a new restaurant or going to a new bowling place that's come up in town or something like that. It just should be new, different to you. Okay, and then the final piece here is social media. If you haven't talked to someone in a long time and you've thought about them, give them that call. Let them know you're thinking about them, have a conversation with them, attend Zoom meetings, catch up with people on Facebook. These things are there for a reason, and we might as well use them to strengthen our brain. I want to touch on a study with you all that compared a group of older adults who learned how to quilt to a group of older adults that learned photography. In this study, they tested these folks' memory. Can you guys write in the chat which group you think had better memory after learning their new task, the quilting group or the photography group? Okay, I'm seeing a mix of things, both quilting and photography. Thanks for typing in the chat, guys. So fun fact, they both had equal benefit to memory improvement. The point is that learning a new skill, no matter what it is, as long as it's challenging to you, it's beneficial. So take up something you're wanting to do, and it can be beneficial for your brain health.
All right, and then lastly, we will discuss diet and lifestyle. So you don't need to stop doing what you enjoy to live a healthy life. I know we enjoy our pizza and cookies and donuts and cocktails, but moderation is key. You don't need to make drastic changes. Moderation of alcohol is really important. So the National Institute of Health recommends that women have no more than 1 drink a day and that men have no more than 2 drinks a day. It's also important to incorporate healthy foods like fish, berries, leafy greens to make sure our brains are getting the healthy fats, antioxidants, and nutrients they need to function well. And one of the most important things with our food and our lifestyle is to have fun. Beyond spending time with friends and family and living a healthy lifestyle, superagers are known to have fun. And you saw that in the clip that we shared earlier. They are traveling and exercising and joining their friends in group activities. They're really living it up. So find something that brings you joy and make sure to make time in your schedule for it, because keeping your mind happy is a large part of keeping it healthy.
I love sharing the initial findings of the Super Aging Research Initiative. On a day-to-day basis, we are focused on increasing the size of the cohort by enrolling at least 500 new participants. We have goals to increase diversity and expand geographic diversity by enrolling across 5 sites in the United States and Canada. We're looking at increasing racial and ethnic diversity. We're focusing on enrollment of individuals who identify as Black or African American. So if you know someone really well who are 80 and older, live in an active lifestyle, and have the memory and thinking abilities of someone 20 years younger than their stated age, please consider encouraging them or yourself to join the Super Aging Research Initiative. And thank you for your time. We're going to stop sharing.
Great, and I will quick take over share. We're going to get to a Q&A, but just quick before we get there, everyone, when you exit out of Zoom today, you're going to get a survey. We ask that you please give us your feedback on today's presentation through that very brief survey. And then just an overview of what we have upcoming for the Age Well series on April 24th. So just a couple weeks from now, we have Dr. Nathaniel Jin, also from UW-Madison, who is going to be doing a presentation on what is dementia, how to talk about it with your family and doctors. And then in May, we have Mind Matters, Navigating Mental Health in Older Adulthood. So that is May 20th. So everyone will receive the recording from today's presentation after, and there'll be registration information for both of the upcoming events as well. So we'll turn it back over to our presenters today and go through a Q&A. If anyone does have any questions, feel free to either come off mute or you can use the chat.
How does sleep factor in superagers? I see a question there. So in the initial findings, we did not have a lot of information about sleep, but now when I am collecting data now, there are several sleep surveys in there. So eventually we will have more information about how sleep affects the superagers. Oh, yeah, thank you for that. So in addition to paper pencil surveys, we also have a sub-study that uses biosensors. And they are collecting real live data on how superagers are actually functioning with their daily activities. So these biosensors, there's one on the wrist, one on the ankle, and then one here on your chest. And they're measuring sleep, breathing, and other factors that may contribute. What do the superagers share that they think contributes to
Most of their super status.
super status? Good question. Good question. Well, I've heard just anecdotally from being a coordinator, but also from the study, we know that they are very active. Most of them exercise. They're very social. I've heard people talk about genetics. So we are, as part of the study, there is a blood draw where we look at biomarkers. And part of that includes DNA. I've heard people say, you know, I have a positive, upbeat attitude. I've heard that also. I hope that answered your question. How does health factor in cancer, et cetera? That's a good question. Right now, I do not have data on that, but I can tell you it doesn't, health with things such as cancer doesn't rule out superagers, because I have had some who have dealt with superagers who have dealt with skin cancers, prostate cancer, breast cancer. I've seen those. So I don't think it stops anyone from becoming a superager if they're going to be a superager.
It says, I'm only 75. Will I be able to become a superager if I follow the techniques? I'd say you've got just as good of a shot as anyone if you try and follow the techniques. I mean, the point of doing these research studies is to see what are the things people are doing to be able to become superagers. And I think the strategies we've given you today give you a good path forward on to trying to become a superager. Then we have another question that says, any help in improving recovering after surgery, and especially the effect of anesthetic on cognition? This is a question that's sort of outside of the scope of what we do. I wish I had the answer for you, but I do not. It's a good question that we could look more into.
Any other questions?
Sites across the nation for the study.
So there are 5 sites. Let's see if we can check my memory function here. So we have UW-Madison, University of Chicago, Emory, University of Western Ontario, Northwestern. Did I get them all? University of Chicago, yes. I think I named all of them.
Michigan.
Michigan, yes, thank you.
And then us here at UW-Madison.
Yes. So if someone wants to get involved in the study, you can send an email to our, can you put the website in the chat? We'll put the website in the chat, and then also you can email us at superagingwi@medicine.wisc.edu. And we'll put those in the chat for you. I think we're.
Great, I don't see any other questions in the chat. Thank you guys for joining us today. We really enjoyed what a great presentation it was. Again, to every one of our participants, we will be sending out a recording today as well as a copy of the slides. And don't forget to register for our upcoming events.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you
everyone.
so much.
So much. Thanks, everyone.
Take care.